Battleground, Joshua Dawes, Pernell Bills. We here with you
Man,
today. We done had ourselves a good
what it
week, man.
is?
We done had ourselves a good week. We done got some touches on other episodes that we've done. We hit about
Uh,
8,000 views over the last week.
woo,
So we
woo,
rocking here. We rocking here. They liking our swag. So
woo.
let's go and
Man,
keep
look,
it going.
as long
Trying
as
to
they like it, I love it. You know what I'm saying?
Hey man, try to stack as much content as possible. Still looking for a hey, if you want to subscribe to one of our episodes, sponsor an episode, let us know. We are in it
Do that.
to win it, you know,
Do that.
because we even if it's $1, we maybe
That's a
never
dollar more
know.
than what I got.
What? Let's do it, right? So we got
Hmm.
a few things to hit on today. The NFL is our main topic today, so we hitting on the NFL. Primary reason is that the NFL has had a lot of movement. Obviously, you got the trade deadline starting to creep up a little quicker. Some teams don't look
Man,
like they
it came
should be
fast
making.
this year, man.
Yeah, it's going pretty fast, man. But you got a lot of teams that don't look like they should. Their rosters on paper say one thing, but we obviously know what it looks like when we see them on the field. So who do you want to
Yeah.
start with first? That's the question. Who you want to start the conversation off with first? It's on you, man. Who we tagging today?
You know what? I feel like we done had this conversation a couple of times, and I feel like they probably got the most that I got to say about it. So I'm gonna start off with this simple little question. I'm pretty sure you might have. I hope you have the same answer that I got, but I'm gonna say, who do you think is in a worse situation right now? The New York Jets or the Dallas Cowboys?
All right, so I'm gonna say the Cowboys because of what they
Uh,
did this offseason. To me,
I understand that,
because
but go ahead.
what they did this offseason was you re-signed two players, right? I ain't got a problem with you re-signing CD Lamb for the deal that he got because he held off a little bit and and he still played while a certain situation was going on. I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with you paying a quarterback that hasn't produced for you before CD Lamb has gotten here, right? So he's had multiple number one wide receivers in different forms. Des Bryant. We got Coop, who just got lucky where he's going. Right now, you got CD Lamb, and so we're kind of in the same little boat where it's like it's not about the receiver because this receiver's not the issue. All three of those receivers have produced for the Cowboys, right? In moments they need them to go catch the ball, these guys will go catch the ball. Moments they need them to show out, they'll go show out. But the man got thrown in the ball. Seems like he only's good for padding stats when the game's out of hand. When no matter what he does, they're not going to come back. And you end up resigning two of those guys, CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott, for long deals. And so, I took some time to look at Dak's contract again, right? Because I'm trying to rethink this, like, why, how could you put yourself in this situation, right? So as I'm looking at a 4-year, $240 million contract that was signed this year, like I know Jerry loves to play the players that he has drafted. I know that. I know he's the hometown team type of thing. But at the end of the day, you know, performance means everything. Where you perform also means everything, right? The timing of which you perform means everything in the NFL, in any pro sport, right? You need to perform when crunch time is here. Right now, your team looks foolish. You don't pay these two big contracts, and I mean, let's think about it. Your roster is a bunch of pieces that may not need to be there. Your defense don't look scary. Your O line still looks shaky, right? Those are things that if you look at the Cowboys, they could bank their hat on. We got a decent defense. Our O line is going to let our running backs do this thing. Right now, it looks like the two things that you can hang your hat on since the '90s, you can't hang your hat on right now because you don't pay guys who shouldn't be paid. So that is, made deals that shouldn't be made. You shouldn't have traded, Cooper for chump change. You shouldn't have done that, but you did it anyway, right? And again, it goes back to those contracts that you did with Zeke way in the beginning. I think this problem all starts back with the Zeke issue. Whereas you paid Zeke, which I ain't got a problem with you paying Zeke, but the timing of which you paid Zeke, you should have paid Dak first. So then you can leverage a little bit there before you go into Zeke. But you didn't. You paid people out of order, and now you're in a situation that, again, we 5-6 years since that contract with Zeke. and it is still
Yeah.
hit you in that. I mean, it's kicking your behind right now because you continue to make bad decisions. I think in any deal that you make, you got to have the willingness to walk away. Jerry Jones don't have the willingness to walk away from any of those deals. He's going to stick it out. He's going to. I'm gonna keep trying to make it work. It ain't working for you. So, in my opinion, those are the issues that the Cowboys got that I think are more hurtful than what the New York Jets got. But let's talk about the Jets. What you got?
So in the situation of the Cowboys, I told y'all this 2 years ago. You want to know why the Cowboys ain't making no changes? Because Jerry is 80 years old. His
Mm-hmm.
mortality is slowly creeping up on him. And like any old rich man, he is quite sure in who and what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Has he made wrong decisions? Yes. But guess what the Cowboys have? They have a quarterback, they have a top tier wide receiver, and they finna pay another top defensive player. Last time I checked, there's probably a quarter of the league who don't have neither one of them three, and the Cowboys got all three. So at the end of the day, unfortunately, as bad as you want to talk about the Cowboys, they have something set in plan to where they won't be horrible for the next 5 years. So that's why they are not in a worse situation. As much as I love laughing at Cowboys fans, because at this point it's becoming very sad to be a Cowboys fan. Hey, look, it is hilarious. But on top of that, now you have Jets learning what it is to be a Cowboys fan. And let's go into why. One, you have an owner who is shooting for the stars, and he is shooting with a rocket ship that can't seem to find the star because its navigation system is trash. You have paid a 40-year-old quarterback who probably won't be there next year, and you have a 30-year-old plus backup quarterback. So who's your quarterback next year? Because chances are Rodgers not going to be there. You have a 1-year loan on Devontae Adams. You have a defense that was very good. It's pretty good this year. But if I'm Sauce Gardner, do I want to come back to this team next year? CJ Mosley's hurt, or is he gone? How many of your defensive players are going to be young in these next coming years? It seems that your defensive team seems to get worse in these coming days, and you also continuously fired the reason why your defensive teams are as good as they are. So you have no quarterback, team consistently getting depleted, and you seem to have no direction whatsoever. Oh, let's go into the fact that in these next coming years, you also will have no money.
You,
So
you
who are
know,
you going to pay to come into your team? Yes, it is New York. There is always the lure of New York. So money is going to come into it at some point to where somebody might take a little cut, or overall you're going to have some little cap space that says, cool, I can fringe overpay somebody to come in. But overall, this Jet situation in the next 2 years are a complete flat out rebuild. They are going to be once again one of the worst teams in the league.
the problem with the Jets, in my opinion, to tack on to what you said, is that they put all their eggs in a basket that was already withered and old, right? Um, Aaron Rodgers, as nice as his talent has been, he's only won one ring, and it's not in
He's
the
only been
modern.
to one Super Bowl.
You get what I'm saying? Well, I think he went two. He went two. I think he went two, didn't he?
You want to go into the list of why he hasn't?
Oh man,
Uh,
we can go. Let's go. Yeah. Let's go into the
all right,
list of
cool.
why he
Let's go
has.
to Aaron Rodgers' last three
Okay.
NFC Championships game. Boom, he lost to Atlanta. We saw what happened to Atlanta when they got to the Super Bowl. Boom, he lost to the 49ers. You saw what happened when they went to the Super Bowl. Boom, he lost to the Bucks. You saw what happened when he lost to the Bucks. We saw what happened with the Bucks when they went to the Super Bowl. Um, 2 straight years you were the MVP. You didn't do nothing with those MVPs when you had the NFC Championship right at your house. The next year after those MVPs, you didn't even make it to the playoffs.
It,
So
I think as owners they cloud their judgment based off of the celebrity player or talent they think they may have. But again, this is what we talk about all the time. Performance on the field and when you perform matters a lot because it looks like when the Packers let you walk and you chose to walk out that door, Jordan Love stepped in and put on a performance in the playoffs. So now you
No,
have
no, no,
us
wait,
question.
wait, wait, wait. He started off slow,
Yeah.
gained his footing, and was
Mm-hmm.
one game away from the NFC Championship game
So
that
you
you
started to ask
walked
yourself,
into.
is it you or was it the system? You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that Rodgers isn't talented. What I'm saying is that if I was able to replace you so easily with a guy who was sitting on the bench for the longest, who everyone questioned, can he actually play the position in the league, right? Because of what school he came from. If I've been able to replace you like that, and again, I got to see what Jordan Love does this year. Obviously, we had the sophomore slump that could play a part. I'm
Ain't that much of
wondering.
a slump.
It ain't much of a slump, but you always got to take in consideration. Will he have the longevity that Aaron Rodgers has had? I don't know, but I do know this: the Packers don't seem like they're really wanting for anything, right? We saw what Malik did when he got his opportunity with the Packers. It looked pretty decent, didn't it? Right, compared
Mm-hmm.
to what he had there. So sometimes it's really about what team you're on, and what franchise you're in. Will you have that success? And the last few quarterbacks that have started for the Packers have all had success. They've all had some form of success. So, I wonder how will his legacy be at the end of this whole ordeal. You got Devontae Adams. You had Devontae Adams with the Packers. Nothing changed. Although in my opinion, Devontae Adams is one of the best receivers in the league. He's one of the best receivers in the league. He's been doing it for quite a little minute. But even when you guys work together in Green Bay with an established run game, with an established offensive line, with an established defense, right, with an established head coach, defensive coordinator, X, Y, and Z, you didn't get the job done. So now you're going to a whole nother situation with the Jets. No matter if y'all, hey, buddy, we're back together. You're with the Jets. The Jets haven't been anywhere decent since Rex Ryan. And we saw what Rex Ryan's team had. They had everything but a quarterback. And they still didn't
They
get to the
haven't
Super
been to
Bowl.
the they were in the playoffs. The last time the Jets were in the playoffs were 2010.
And that was what? Who's the coach? Rex Ryan. Who's the quarterback? Wasn't that any a commentator?
Butt
And
fumble.
what but fumble? You
Oh,
know what I'm
butt
saying?
fumble.
So there's this thing that I think most people forget, right? You're like, he's 40 years old, he still got some juice left. I'm not saying he can't throw the ball. I'm not saying he can't, get you some wins. What I'm saying is the reason why you bring a guy like Aaron Rodgers in is to win a Super Bowl. It's supposed to be to win a Super Bowl, but his MO doesn't say he knows how to get back to the Super Bowl to win the game. His says I can get you to a NFC Championship game or an AFC Championship game, but I'm not even gonna say AFC because right now the AFC, every team has a quarterback who is going to be there at the end of the year. Every team has a
Yeah.
quarterback. Every team has a head coach who done been there, who done that, right? So I'm very underwhelmed by what I've seen with the Jets, but the problem with the Jets is not just about Aaron Rodgers, and it's not Devontae Adams at all. He just obviously took the opportunity that he got because he knows he's still going to be the number one receiver, the number one target, right? This is only going to help his stats overall for his career. My issue with the Jets is that you're trying to do what the transfer portal did, right? You stack a whole bunch of talent, and we done seen this happen in the NFL as well. You stack a whole bunch of talent either through free agency, or you picking all these guys up who had past success, stack them on one team, and you're thinking they're going to come out with the same thing. And we haven't seen it happen yet in this league. We haven't seen a stacked team that was traded for compared to drafted for. We haven't.
Rams,
Uh, the Rams
Bucks.
and the Rams first time doing it. Guess what happened? They took an L. They still had to figure it
It
out.
don't matter. They got it eventually.
They,
They
they
kept that. They
definitely.
have that same philosophy, and it worked for them.
I think the Rams situation overall as a franchise, and obviously head coach. I mean, him being a
Yeah.
mental genius with that plays a big part. But Aaron Rodgers don't seem like he don't like head coaches. So I
No,
don't
no, you no, you definitely right. The biggest issue isn't Aaron. Aaron is just he is like
Icing
you
on the
said, his
cake.
MO isn't it doesn't seem to be to win. Like we said, or like I said, 3 NFC championship games that he's failed to win. Now, in 2 of those games, did he shoot? Did he poop the bed? Not exactly. But in 2 of those games, he also had multiple picks. In another game, he had a pick. I mean, but like you said, when it came to the 49ers, his defense got ran all over.
Mm-hmm.
But the offense also, I mean, the defense also didn't give up any passing touchdowns. But you also threw a pick in that game that pretty much kind of iced it.
Mm-hmm.
In the Bucks, Brady threw 3 picks. Where did you come with those situations and scoring off of that? And so it doesn't seem like winning is what he tends to do when he gets to these championship games. And then more so, your attitude is what has killed this. Your attitude cost you Devontae Adams. Your attitude cost you to seem like to not be able to function and be able to practice and get along with younger players. And like we said, that's fine and dandy if that first year starter didn't take that same team and players one game away from an NFC championship game. And so when the Jets brought him in, I said, that's that's fine. That's cool. That's dandy. Will they win some games? Most definitely. But what about Aaron Rodgers at this stage in his career makes you think that you are going to win a Super Bowl? One, you haven't been in over a decade. You are pushing 15 years since you played a playoff game, let alone won one. Rodgers hasn't won a playoff game in for if he ever. And nothing about this organization and the moves that they make say playoff or Super Bowl. So I'll put out one like Dan Orlovsky, where he's like, "Oh, this team is great. It's power packed. Look at these receivers. They built up the O line. The O line is full of old monkeys. I
It's
mean,
a it's a
your
it's a
tackles are both
paper
old as
team.
dirt.
It's a
It's a
paper
it's a
team.
it's a pure paper team.
It's a paper
And
team.
you how many times have they had the number 1 pick, or they've at least been in the top 10
I mean, a lot.
in the past decade? A lot.
They're
So
most. If we're if
they're one
we're
of those teams. So it's like,
if we
what
if,
about this made you think that this was a Super Bowl team?
to me, I think sometimes teams need to stop it and look into your organization before you start looking on the field, because no matter how good you have on the field, if your organization internally is bad, your decisions on the field will be bad. Your coach doesn't have the confidence to make the moves he needs to make. Your GM's not picking the players that he needs to pick to work with the team they have already to make those adjustments. If you're not all in as sync as one, you will fail. And this is the thing we're seeing right now. I mean, Rodgers, I I like him as a talent. But again, you
Yeah.
went to the Jets. You went to the Jets. Again, technically their last great quarterback is Mark Sanchez. That's their last great quarterback because he's gone the furthest. Who else? You go with Joe Namath,
No, they've
Chad
had
Pennington,
one before that.
Chad Pennington. Actually, I'm
It'd
gonna go
probably
back.
say Chad or Rex. I don't know.
When the last time you
I
seen
think most
Chad
people say
Pennington?
Chad.
When the last time you seen Chad Pennington even on an email or
I
a
mean,
Facebook post?
it's like saying what buddy from West Virginia. When was the last time they had a great quarterback? They probably say Geno, or they gonna go all the way back to Pat.
That's the
It just
same
is what it is. They
situation.
had him. They had
This
him.
is this is the same situation because what you just said, they're about the same time period. They're about the same time
Yeah,
period. Last
yeah.
time the Jets was like, anything, Pat White was doing his thing over there with the Wolverines. They don't have, that's the Chad Pennington, Pat White era, and then you switch over and you look at the Geno Smith and what's the old boy who I just said Sanchez era. That's the same
Yeah,
time period.
he ain't nothing but 2 years later. That's
You get what I'm
yeah.
saying? So all I'm saying, all I'm looking at here is just a franchise that is disorganized. This is why I said, in that little quick little blurb I sent you, the Giants will retool before the Jets. Even
Already
with the
have, bro.
bet, you get what I'm saying? Because here's the thing: I think players in the NFL know what teams are going to be competing to the end in a future
Oh
basis,
yeah.
because
Oh
you
yeah.
know they see the players that you draft, but also they see the players that you draft and how hard they work, how hard they put the time and effort into it, but also the cohesiveness. And they will even say they may be missing one or two players, and they'll get there. And the Giants, to me, are probably missing, obviously the Daniel Jones situation, terrible contract,
I mean, it
terrible
don't matter. That
contract.
contract is finna go anyway. So
Yeah,
all they need is a QB. I don't know where they're
and
gonna find it, but
they're gonna try to draft that quarter. They're gonna address that this year. But if I it is what it is for the Jets right now, man. They are in a in a pickle that they put themselves in contractually, and these deals. I mean, look, if you look at Aaron Rodgers' contract, bro, and I don't. Again, I'm looking at his contract. Well, his base salary, I think, is what, 3 mil. Bonuses is 35.
yeah.
That's crazy.
I mean
Oh,
that's how
and
they prefaced it and got them there. So
and then here's the other part about it. When you take, and this is what the Bucks players said about Tom Brady, because you remember early in that season, starting off, they weren't doing so hot. They was up and down trying to figure out their way, right? During COVID, Tom Brady's like, look, I know it's COVID, but I need y'all out here training with me. So, in those situations, he's doing whatever it takes to win. But they said, like, being with Tom is like, it forced you to elevate your play. Like, whatever he says, like, bro, I feel like I got to be 10 times better. These questions I think ownership should ask when they're bringing a guy in like a Aaron Rodgers who is older, and talk to their former teammates. How did he make you feel when you bring him in? Does it make you feel you want to do better, or does it make you feel like, hey, yo, that's just another teammate on the team? Because he's not shooting for greatness. You'll see what greatness look like when in the locker room.
yeah.
Is he
And
great for himself, or is he great for the team? You get what I'm saying? Like, is
yeah,
he great
you
for
don't
himself
play
and his
for a
team?
whole year.
You
You
get what I'm
decide to
saying?
go to Egypt during minicamp.
Egypt, bro. I'm going to Egypt. When your team don't have a quarterback to depend on. This is the issues that the Jets put themselves in. But as you stated, yeah, their contracts, their deals with Aaron Rodgers, with Devontae Adams, their Robert Saleh being let go. Obviously, he's in the best position right now, just because he's getting paid just to sit at home. Right? We don't seen this happen a
Oh, he's
few
finna go
times.
back to San Francisco and get
You
him
know
a
what I'm
little
saying?
job, and he might be the D coordinator next year.
And might get a ring. All
Maybe.
maybe. But in my opinion, I still rock with the Cowboys having although they have a receiver, a quarterback, or a defensive stars, right? They've had that for so long in different forms, different capacities, that I think they don't see where their problem is. I don't think, because everybody's been yelling what their problem is for years. Everyone's been telling you
I
what
think
their
they
problem
do. I think Jerry doesn't. And that's why I
is.
say they will never be bad. But until Jerry gets that fixture in his mind that, hey, I need to a little bit and get me a coach who can actually change my culture, because that's all it is.
Yeah,
It's the
culture
culture
shock.
that he's cultivated up there in Frisco or Dallas, wherever they at. It's the culture that he's cultivated at that place that says, "Oh, I'm a cowboy. I'm like that." No, you're not, my boy.
You know,
You're not that. You have
he is
to earn that respect.
he is the last coach I said that people revered from them was Bill Parcells, and he was already at the latter end of his career as a coach. I mean, that was his last stop in the first place. So he's in the latter of his career, and you're trying to take what he's done in the past and bring it over. They haven't had a defensive minded coach in so long that that is really about a toughness of a football team, really about the identity of a football team. When you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, no matter who they have on their team, you know the MO of that franchise, right? Tough, rugged, right? Their defense is going to be lights out. Their offense is a complement, and if they do have anything, they have some decent wide receivers who will go make a play when plays need to be made. Maybe they'll have a tough, hard nosed running back, but these are MOs that they stick with, right? If you look at
Yeah.
I just think there's an MO problem for the Cowboys, identity issue.
I'd say, I mean, Bill Parcells was there, but I think what really held him on was Jimmy, and Bill Parcells kind of, he came in and had his time with them, but they're really trying to find what they had with Jimmy. That
And
'90s run was something different. They
yeah.
won that last one off of Barry, but that was really Jimmy's team.
Mm-hmm.
And they tried to find that again in Bill, but once again, Jerry doesn't know how to take that back seat. So coaches like Bill can't be themselves.
Mm-hmm. Jimmy,
If you let a coach like him take over, cool, and you be you in the background, that'd be great. But if you always want to be in the forefront, if you want to talk so much, if you want to loom this kind of aura over your team without them actually being like that puts you in a hole that your players have to dig themselves out of. So this whole time you talk about an offseason, you ain't making no moves. The only good move that you made was signing Kendricks. And you say, "Oh, we have the team, we have everything we need," and then you go out here and you get whooped by over 30 points. Your
not
team is getting rushed by over 180 yards.
the
You've lost 4 home games in a row.
the
You can't say that about your team and then your players not performing the way that's needed.
the ultimate disrespect was when they allowed offensive linemen to be put in skill position situations and actually
Mm,
be given the ball.
football, baby. Gotta
Bro,
love it.
they did Pop Warner stuff to you. And what I mean by
You should
Pop
have been
Warner is
fighting at
that,
that point. I would have took all
bro,
them flags.
your pride should be so hurt and so beaten that you shouldn't make overall sweeping changes the last game of the season for you. Like the last game of the season after that, you gotta be like, look, this is it. Let's go ahead, cut the butter, and let's go ahead and try to fix the situation and get right. Because right now the Cowboys don't look anywhere near where they need to be. Yes, they're 3-3, but you were blown out by the Saints and you were blown out by the Lions. To even utter those two words 20 years ago, you'd be like, what? That's
Hell, 10
crazy.
years ago, you couldn't
And
utter them words.
you know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm sorry about the Saints. That's the Saints 10
Yeah,
years ago.
Saints,
Yeah,
their offense was that. But I'm saying if you go back 20 years, you're not really the Saints are trying to figure out their way. But again, Saints made sweeping changes back then to fix their identity to what we
yeah,
know the Saints can be. The Cowboys, their identity, like you said, is stuck in the 90s. You're trying to recreate what Jimmy Johnson did. Let's be real. Jimmy had an unprecedented run as a head coach. What he did in Miami, then to come to the Cowboys and do the exact same thing. Also, he did do a little loophole. He traded he traded Herschel Walker to get all the picks. Dumb move.
yeah. Hey,
Dumb,
what
not by him.
everybody thought was the dumbest move of the century turned out
Oh
to
my
be
god,
the.
bro! See, I went and got all them players from Miami. Got some players from Florida. Got some. I went and got the guys who I know can do this in this league. So it's
Yeah,
a problem that both teams are going to have to figure out, the Jets and the Cowboys. But the Jets, their situation to me is not as crazy because you have a front office issue that you have to figure out. But I think they can solve their issue faster than what the Cowboys can,
I
because the
think the only
Cowboys.
reason people say that it's not the Jets is because the Jets have always been the Jets.
But the thing is, if two franchises have always been what they've always been, it's almost as if they're the same team. It's just I'm picking at a different spot in the NFL draft. That's all I'm doing. Like I'm not getting no further ahead, and I'm not going no lower. No lower. There's no dramatic change for either franchise. We've seen more dramatic change from the Jets in our lifetime than we've seen from the Cowboys. The Cowboys in the same spot. They haven't even been to an NFC championship game in the years when the NFC don't have anybody. Now the NFC look like them boys they got somebody's. And now you about to be in this dogfight to even get to the playoffs because your division is not easy. You're gonna be in a dogfight because there's a division up in the north that got the Green Bay Packers that they ain't looking like them boys gonna be ready.
Shoot, they
The
might lose to
Lions,
Chicago. I don't know if they will, but they
the
could.
Chicago Bears look like they might have something to work with. Identities are being made with these franchises. The Cowboys have been stuck with the same mask for so long that they feel like this is their face. They need to take it off and
Hmm.
go ahead and wash it off and start over.
I mean,
I
they
got a
will
question.
next year. They got a slight. It's not a total. That's why their situation isn't that bad. Do they
Mhm.
have a rebuild? Yes, but it's not a total rebuild. As in, the Jets will be rebuilding for the next. Unless they absolutely just flat out hit on coach and quarterback, they are going to
Mhm.
be rebuilding for the next 5 years.
All right. So Cowboys contracts. What were the five most significant contracts for the Cowboys over the last, let's say, decade? Five most significant contracts. Whether those contracts were made, those deals were made.
Zeke, Dez, Amari, and probably one of those O linemen.
You know what I'm gonna actually say? I mean, O lineman is a pivotal piece. I'm actually gonna add in the fact that they didn't go after Derrick Henry at all, and Derrick was like,
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, not
that.
not not pay, not going after Derek. Well, but they couldn't. To be frank, they actually couldn't because of the Dak situation. Like we said, had you paid Dak before Zeke, that would allow you to pay Dak last year. It would allow that Amari Cooper. I mean, not Amari. It would allow the CD Lamb contract to smooth away right in, and you could have paid Derek and been right along for Micah next year.
That
But
deal, and this, like I said, that deal they made with Zeke at that time is still affecting them currently because they paid people out of order, and I think in the
Well,
NFL,
I won't even say they paid them out of order because let's be frank, Dak
Zeke was doing
won
his
Rookie
thing.
of the Year, but it should have been Zeke's. It should have been Zeke's award, and had they paid Zeke once again, had you paid Zeke earlier instead of this crazy number contract, you would have been just fine, Jerry. You would
My
have been just fine.
my thoughts on the Cowboys because they've always had a really good offensive line. Right now they're still trying to work some
Yep,
things out, but because they always had a really good offensive line before Zeke, you had other running backs before Zeke put up nice numbers. Right before those
very.
running backs, you had dudes putting up nice numbers. My thing about this is that I think they love having a star so much. No pun intended, right? They love having a star so
Hmm.
much, stars in these skill positions so much that they lose the fact of what they already been able to produce with or without those guys. I think you have a misunderstanding of what you have been able to accomplish. You have had the top rusher in the league with other players. So my thoughts
Well,
were,
with other players, but those other players were actually good. When they don't have a good running back, you can see the difference.
well, let's put it this way. Before Zeke, you had old buddy who came out of Oklahoma, that running back. Ah man, what is his name?
Murray,
Murray. Murray had a
he was
really
good.
good season. And then
Murray was good.
he went and got the bag, right? He went and got the bag with Tennessee, and we haven't seen him since. We didn't see him since, right? When he got the bag with Tennessee. My thing is, regardless if that guy is really good elsewhere or not, he was good for you and your system. And so since he was good for you and your system, you could rock with that guy in your system. And so again, whether or not that guy will be great in somewhere else, it doesn't matter because he's working for me here. So that shows that regardless of if I have Zeke or somebody else, because even Pollard had a decent season when Zeke left. The only thing is Pollard wasn't a natural running back. I think he was a receiver turned running back
No,
in the
he was a
NFL.
running back. He just wasn't Zeke.
He wasn't Zeke. So my thing is, you could go draft a quality run. I think at the time when Zeke was leaving out, who was that? There was a few other running backs that came out that were credible, like that you could actually roll with. They may not have been Zeke at the time, but they could have grown into that situation just because of what team they went to that has a good O-line, D-line. I mean, a good offensive line. It just, I think Cowboys need to realize, hey, we were good at this, so we don't have to break our back to overpay for certain people because we know that if we put somebody in that spot, they can do the exact same thing. Because
Except they can't. That's they can and can't. This is their offense is not the 49ers.
oh
Their
no,
offense is not that productive. So just putting someone back there to think that they're going to be good, they don't work like that. They need good players to make their system work. That's part of the reason why Jerry has issues of paying people. If he paid people on time and the right amount, they wouldn't be in these bad situations that they end up in. Like, should you have paid Zeke? Yes. You should not have paid Zeke what you paid him, and you should not have waited to pay him.
I got a
You
question.
should had you have paid Murray, you would have been fine. I would have paid Murray like $3 million less. If you didn't want to go, cool. That next year I drafted Zeke. That's fine. But stop thinking that I have to get everyone in the first round. Stop thinking that I have to wait and pay everyone the highest amount.
And
That's
not
where
only
they
that,
have the issues at.
they usually pay them jokers right. Like I said, jokers crazy. They usually pay them after their rookie deal ends. Instead of like,
Exactly.
oh, you're two, you already looking like this. Let me go and get this out of the way now before I have to wait until now. I'm gonna have to the Bucks do here. The time frame in which you re up on those guys, you know, it's not stuck on the end of their third year. You ain't gotta wait like they do with they did with Tua and another terrible con. You know what? Let's do this. Let's do this. There are so many bad contracts in the league right now. So many team friendly deals in the league right now that it is for quarterbacks that they got. It's unbelievable. It is unbelievable. Like you're missing the red flags that you're seeing left and right. Tua, injury prone, but I'm still going to sign him for the contract that he wants because it's supposed to be market value. What is that? You spoke on this already before. You like this is becoming an epidemic because now you have another guy, Dak Prescott. He's overpaid because you paid him at the wrong time, but also the market rate. That don't make sense to me. That don't make sense to me if performance is not what you're keying your heart, you're putting your hanging your hat on. It don't make sense to me. Like you said with Trevor Lawrence, I do like Trevor, but again, you have said it and you made it very clear. His performance makes him an average quarterback. Doesn't make him great. Doesn't make him the guy that the overall savior. And that's okay. He ain't gotta be the savior. Right? He ain't gotta be the savior. Honestly, the Jaguars have gotten a lot further with quarterbacks who ain't been the savior. He's gotten a lot further with just guys you building on a solid defense, a strong run game, and you just need a quarterback that's comparable. Now you have a quarterback, guess what? He's intelligent enough to lead you further because you have all the other pieces. If you added Trevor Lawrence to the 2017 Jacksonville Jaguar team that went further, you would probably be in the Super Bowl. Why? Because guess what?
Maybe.
He would just make the decision that needs to be made there. He's not going to try to go over the top. He's not going to try to be Superman, right? He's going to just fall in
You
love
just hope
with
they didn't throw a pick,
You know what I'm saying? Or Brady pick. Was it a pick? Was it not a pick? Brady even said it. That was a pick. But I looked at the ref. They looked at me and said, "All right, we got you." But again, I just think we're in an era where quarterbacks are being paid. Aaron Rodgers deal. That's crazy. I'm paying you a 40-year-old quarterback. Why am I paying you this much money? You haven't performed. You haven't got nobody else to the Super Bowl past that one time. You know what I'm saying? Why am I paying you like this? If we go to Kirk Cousins, why? Like he's doing better right now. But again, you had an Achilles tear. Why am I paying you that much money? Not only that, why am I paying you with the knowledge that I'm about to go draft a quarterback in the top 10? What am I doing here?
Atlanta might have a plan going on that everybody ain't knowing but knows to because hey look, Kirk out here wheeling and dealing. Kirk being a smart guy that he is, Penix might be getting all the information that he needs, and he is 2 years away from doing the same Jordan Love situation.
He might be in a
We don't know.
He might be in a love situation. tall quarterback, right?
Yeah.
Pass heavy guy, right?
He
All you gotta
is.
do
He can
is
move. And they might be giving him time to make sure that he's fully healthy as well.
And the one thing I like, the one thing I say the Packers did in that last season with Aaron Rodgers was give him a bunch of scrappy wide receivers that needed some work and help them develop in that long run. And so when Jordan Love came in, he didn't have to worry about the receivers because guess what? They knew what they were doing. They were already with emotion. And I
Yeah.
think Penix might be in the same way, but Penix has a tight end that, if used the correct way, can be can
Their receiver situation is going to be very interesting by the time that he
because they
starts
got
starting, though,
some.
because Pitts is going to be in for a deal. London's going to be up for a deal. Mooney may or not be up, and then Bijan is going to be up for a deal. So
Mm-hmm.
their cap situation is going to be, they're going to lose a couple of them guys, and
Yeah.
it's going to be very interesting by the time Penix is up, unless Penix is up in these next 2 years, and he could be, but that situation is going to get very interesting.